Hello YouTube, today's video is special. Keeping the IPL, that is Indian Premier League vibe in mind, today we'll be building a super amazing beginner friendly dashboard on Tableau using the player statistics data of my favorite team, which is Chennai Super Kings CSK. Which is your favorite team in IPL? Comment down below. So in this dashboard, we'll be looking at building wonderful player statistics dashboard using number of interactive sheets, filters, KPIs, and many more things. So without wasting any time, let's get started by talking about our data first. So this is a wonderful CSK Chennai Super Kings player statistics data available with us. Now let's see what each of the feature tells us. Firstly, we have highest column, which is the highest run scored by each of the player. For example, MS Dhoni had scored 84 maximum runs in this particular season. Then we have player nationality. What is the nationality of the player? Whether it's Indian, New Zealander, South African, Australian. Now this is the seasons we have season. The data are from the season 2008 to 2019. Sorry, the data from 2020 to 22 was not available, rather it was not updated. So this is the batting average, the batting strike rate, and this is the bowling average. Now for MS Dhoni, you will see bowling average as 0 because MS Dhoni is a wonderful batsman and he never bowls, while you will see all of these three factors for Ravindra Jadeja because he's an all-rounder. Now these are the number of catches taken by this particular player, number of 50s, number of fours, number of matches played by this player, runs, the total runs in this particular season, number of sixes, number of stumping, and finally the number of wickets. So this is an amazing player statistics data which we have with us. Now we'll use this particular statistical data to build a wonderful yet beginner friendly dashboard on Tableau. Now let's move towards building our amazing dashboard. So I've imported my dataset CSK sample in this Tableau public interface, and Tableau has given a data preview of 20 rows. Now if you want to keep a preview of 40 rows, you can just rename it to 40 and you'll get a data preview for 40 rows. Now if you want to change or if you want to rename the field name, now for example I want to replace highest with highest runs, you can just double click on this field and you can manually change the field name as highest runs and click on enter, and same will be reflected over here, the rename column or the rename field name. Now on the left hand side you can see a type. You can manually change the data type for each of the feature. Now by default Tableau has computed the data type for this highest run as numeric. Now if you want to keep it as string, you can change it to string or date, date time, boolean, or even geographic role. Like for example, there is a column city and Tableau has computed it as a string value. You can change it, you can rather give it a geographic role of country or city manually, so that Tableau will compute it as a city or country. Now, how I imported this data? For this, you need to click on this data, new data source, and you can choose from n number of options. If your data is in CSV, you can just click on this text file and you can directly import the data from your local PC. Now let's move towards a sheet number 1 to create our first sheet and later which will be used to build our dashboard. So click on the sheet number 1. Let's start this sheet number 1 with an amazing and insightful visualization. Now in this measures, you see I have fours, I have runs, I have sixes, I have wickets, and also in dimension I have player name. So what if we present the top 5 or top 10 players who have scored maximum fours, who have scored maximum sixes, who have took maximum wickets, and who have played maximum matches. So for that, I need to grab this player name over here in this column section, and for now I'll just grab this force in this rows. Now I want to sort this in descending wise so that the player who have scored maximum force will be on the top and the player having lowest force will be on the bottom. So for that I'll just click on this drop down, click on sort, and I'll just mention this sort order as descending, and I'll sort by the field where my field name is 4 and aggregation is sum. But I think in this case the aggregation average will make is more insightful. And even here I'll just change this measure to average. Now you can see Shane Watson have scored maximum 4, having average force as 43, followed by Suresh Raina with average 4 of 41.20. Now what I will do is I'll just remove this grid lines by clicking on format. Just right click and click on format, and you will see a format font appeared here. Now in this lines option, you just need to disable the grid lines. Now you can see in the rows I have these grid lines, so I'll just click on none, and the grid lines which are rendering in background have disappeared. Now to occupy this entire space, what I need to do is click on this standard and click on entire view to occupy the whole space. And lastly, what I'll do, I'll just swap rows and columns so as to present these vertical bar charts into horizontal one. So you just need to click on this swap rows and columns, and our data is available as we wanted. I'll just need to remove these grid lines again. Okay, now I am interested to see who are the top 10 or top 5 players. So how can I present this? So firstly, I need to create an index. So firstly, I need to create a calculated field. I'll just rename this as index. Now index is a by default calculation provided by Tableau. So you just need to click on index and you can see the index available here, and the calculation is valid. Click on OK. Now you need to grab this index in this filters. Now it will start from 1 to 12 since there are 12 data points. Now if you're interested in top 10 players, you can just replace 12 with 10 and click on apply. Now the top 10 players will be appeared here. Now let's present it as top 5 players. So I'll just replace 10 with 5 and click on apply. Now I have finally visualized which are the top 5 players who have scored maximum fours from season 2008 to 2019, which is Shane Watson, Suresh Raina, Ambati Rayudu, MS Dhoni and Faf du Plessis. But as we discussed before, we also wanted to present who are the players, who are the top 5 players who have scored maximum runs, who have scored maximum sixes, who have took maximum wickets. But on a contrary, we are just presenting just one feature here, that is maximum force. But first option to present this data is creating some individual sheets, like one sheet for the players who have scored maximum sixes, one sheet for presenting top 5 players based on the stumpings, then wickets. But this is not a correct way to present this data. So what is the best and effective way to present all of these features in this single sheet? So for that, I'll just introduce you all to parameters. So for that, you need to create a parameter. So you can click on create parameter here. Now here, I'll just rename this parameter as statistics. And in this data type, I'll just click on string since I'll be providing the string values. Now here, I'll click on list and mention what all features I want to present in this parameter. So firstly will be my 4. I'll just rename it as top 4s, then top 6s, then top runs, and finally top wickets. So I'll just click on OK. And now you can see in this parameter section, our statistic parameter is generated. Now what I'll do is I'll click on analysis and click on create a calculated field. So basically here we'll be creating a condition that if the statistic parameter is top 4, then use this force. If the parameter is wickets, then use this wicket feature. If the parameter is runs, then use the feature as run. Isn't it amazing? So I'll just rename this calculated field as, let's say, statistics, or let's say select statistics. And here I'll just use this formula. So for using parameters, I need to click on case and the parameter name, which is statistics. And here I'll start adding conditions like when top fours, then fours, when top sixes, then sixes, when top wickets, then use wickets feature, and finally when top runs, then use the run feature. And finally, I'll end this for if loop by clicking on end. And you can see our calculation is valid and click on OK. Now this is the calculated field which is generated here. And instead of this average 4, which is the single feature which we were using in column section, I'll replace this maximum 4 with select statistics. And I'll just sort it again based on the select statistics, where aggregation will be average. And even here I'll just change this aggregation from sum to average. Now I'll just right click on this parameter and click on show parameter. Now if user selects top 4, then user will see who are the top 5 players based on the top 4s. Now if the user selects top wickets, now you'll see the players who have took maximum wickets in this season from 2008 to 2019, starting with Deepak Chahar who have took average wickets of 16, which are the maximum, followed by Dwayne Bravo, Ravindra Jadeja, Shardul Thakur, and Tim Saudi. If the user selects top runs, then we'll be getting top 5 players who have scored top runs in the season. So this is the way you can present your data in much more efficient manner. Now I'm almost done with this sheet number 1, excluding few minor changes. Firstly, I want to disable this title name as average select statistics. So I'll just double click here and disable this title so that only values will be reflected here. I want to enable the labels. So for that, I'll just click on this label and click on show mark label. Now here it's presented in decimal formats, but I want to present the labels as a whole number. So what I can do is I can grab the select statistics calculated field which we created and grab it into labels. Now, since we have selected average measures, we are computation as average. Even here, I need to reflect the measure as average. Now here, in this drop down, you need to click on this format button. And in this numbers, in default section, you can click on custom. And here you can choose the custom formatting. So I don't want to keep any decimal places. So I'll just replace 2 with 0, and you can see my decimal places have disappeared. And now if the number is too huge in thousands or lakhs, you can also choose the display units if you want to keep it in thousands, millions, billions. Now for example, if I choose 1000, you can see 0k because 453 is way less than to be computed as 1000. So I'll just click on none so that the actual value will be presented here. You can choose a prefix suffix to be presented in front of or at the back of your labels. So for example, if this was a cost or in dollars, if you want to present it in dollars, you can just click on dollar option here and you can see the prefix will be appeared here. Now, since here it's just a number of runs, I won't keep any prefix or suffix. So that's it for the labels. Now, the third and important thing which I'm going to consider is the tooltip. Now, whenever a user will scroll around these bar charts, he can see player name, and there is a lot of space between the dynamic player name, which is Ambati Raidu, in this case Suresh Raina, and this is not looking great. So as to make this more interactive, what we'll do is we'll click on this tooltip and you can see the tooltip format, the default format appeared here. So here what we'll do is we'll write as the player. Now here in this insert option, you can see the dynamic value player name appeared here. So the player name has scored average select statistics and the name of the statistics, parameter statistics, and click on OK. So whenever the user will be scrolling around the bar charts, he can see the player Suresh Raina has scored 453 top runs. Now if this user selects top fours, we can see the player Shane Watson has scored 43 top fours. And likewise, the dynamic value will be changing. Now I'll just change the dynamic color of these dynamic values so that the user will be knowing that these particular values are dynamic. So I'll just change it to yellow since we are considering for CSK data. So the by default the color palette will be using as yellow. I'll click on OK, and you can see the player Shane Watson has scored 43 top fours, or the player Ambati Raidu has scored 37 top fours, and etc. So that's it for the sheet number one. And now let's move towards building our sheet number two. Before jumping to sheet number two, I forgot to rename the sheet name as player wise statistics. Click on OK. And the same will be reflected on the title. I'll just bring my title at the center. And now regarding the color combinations, we'll be looking after once we have starting building our dashboard. Once our dashboard is created, later we'll look at the color combination and let's see which color look great on our dashboard. So let's move towards our sheet number two now. Now for sheet number two, I have batting average, I have bowling average, and also I have the season which ranges from 2008 to 2019. So what if we'll see what is the batting and bowling average for each of the player based on each of the season. Like what is the batting and bowling average for each of the player name from season 2008 to 2019. So for that, firstly, if we see the seasons are in numbers format, but I want to present this season in form of date. So how can I do this? So for that, I need to click on this data type option and click on date. So even here you can change the data type. And as you can see, our seasons has been changed to date format. And I want to rename the season CSK player statistics to only seasons. So for that, I need to click on this right. You just need to right click and click on rename. So here you can change it to only season. Now I'll just bring my season in this columns, and in this rows I'll bring my batting average. I'll change measure to average. Now I'll just disable this labels. I can click on hide field label for columns. Now to occupy the entire space, I'll click on entire view. That's great. Now I also want to present what is the bowling average over the seasons. So for that, I'll just grab my bowling average besides this batting average. And again, I'll just choose the computation to average. Now you can see there are two separate line charts, one for batting average, one for bowling average, which are presented in separate sheets. So how can I consolidate both of these line charts into a single sheet? So for that, I'll be using a concept of dual axis. So for using the dual axis, you need to right click on the second axis and click on dual axis. And as you can see, both of these line charts are consolidated into one. Now the most important thing which you need to do is you need to synchronize the axis. What means as synchronizing the axis means if you'll observe the axis for first line chart, it starts from 0, 5, 10, 15, 20. Well, if you'll observe the second axis for the second line chart, it starts from 0, 2, 4, 6. Now when we click on synchronize axis, both of these numbers will be aligning properly. So I'll just click on synchronize axis. And you can see both of these axes are aligned perfectly or equally. Now I'll just hide this label. I'll just hide this whole axis by disabling this show header, and I'll just remove the grid lines, rendering and background by clicking on format and clicking on the sheet. I'll click on this lines, and you can see the grid lines are rendering in rows, and I'll just click on none. And also I'll just hide the title as average batting average by disabling the title. Now you can see our line chart are generated based on the seasons from 2008 to 2019 for average batting and average bowling. Now I want to rename this average batting average as only batting average. So what I can do is I can right click on this and click on edit alias. And instead of average batting average, I'll just remove average and just skip batting average. And I'll follow the same procedures for bowling average as well. I'll just remove this average. So that's it. Now what I'll do in the filters, as we discussed before, I want to filter these batting and bowling average based on the players, right? What I'll do is I'll just drag my player name in this filters. And since I want to use all of these values, all of these player names, I'll just click on use all and click on apply. Just click on this drop down of this player name filter, click on show filter, and my filter has been appeared here. Now Tableau offers n number of layout option for the filter. Like for example, single value drop down option enables user to select only single value of filter. Like for example, if I just want to select MS Dhoni, the value will be only reflected for MS Dhoni. Now, for example, if I choose multiple value drop down, then user can select multiple values. Like for example, I want to see the data for MS Dhoni and Ravindra Jadeja as well. Also, if I have duplices, then these value will be reflected on our visualization. And if I select all of the players will be considered for this visualization. But I'll just use single value drop down for now. Now I'll just rename this sheet as batting and bowling average, and I'll just bring it on the center, average year wise, or rather season wise. That's it. Now I'll just work on this tooltips like previously what we did. So here I'll just click on all. Now when I'm clicking on all, the tooltip will be applied for both of these visualizations. So I'll click on this tooltip, and here I'll just write in year, in year. Now this value will be dynamically changing in year. The batting average was, here I'll be using the batting average dynamic value, and bowling average was, and here I'll be inserting my bowling average dynamic value, and I'll just change the color to yellow so that the user will be knowing that these values are dynamic. Now secondly, what I'll do is I'll just enable label for each of the batting and bowling averages. Like for example, I'll just enable this show mark labels, and I'll just enable for batting average as well. Now the font is too large. I want to reduce this font. So what I'll do is I'll bring my batting average. In batting average, I'll just click on this drop down. I'll just click on measure as average. I'll click on format. Now in numbers, I'll choose decimal places as 1. And here in font, I'll change my font to 8. And likewise, I'll do the same for bowling average. Clicking on average as measure, and then clicking on format, changing the number format to 1 decimal place and changing the font to 8. So yeah, that's it. Now we are done with the sheet number 1 and sheet number 2. So for sheet number 1, I'll just reduce the size looks much better now. Now for the color combinations, as we discussed, we'll be looking later. Once our dashboard is built, we'll see which color looks great and which colors don't. So now let's move towards our sheet number 3. Now in sheet number 3, what I'm thinking of is to replicate or duplicate this sheet, and instead of batting and bowling, I want to see what are the number of sixes and fours by this particular player. So what I will do is I'll just click on this duplicate. So my sheet is duplicated. Now instead of batting average and bowling average, I'll replace these two values with fours. So I'll just replace batting average with 4. I'll just click on average of fours, and instead of bowling average, I'll click on sixes. I'll just replace bowling average with sixes, and instead of sum, I'll do average. Now here our graphs are reflecting properly, but the labels are still for bowling average and batting average. So what I'll do is I'll again replace batting average with fours in the labels as well. Click on average, and for sixes I'll just replace bowling with sixes, and instead of sum I'll just replace it with average. I need to change the formatting again. I think there are 3 decimal places at here. Click on now, change decimal places to 1 and change the font to 8 again. Same for fours. Click on format, decimal places to 1 and font to 8. That's it. Now here you can see the axis is reflecting again. So what I'll do, I'll just disable this show header and also remove the title for average force. And here I'll change this name as season wise will be same, force and success season wise. Now we are done with these 3 sheets, which is player wise statistics, batting and bowling average, fours and sixes average. Now, when a user will select any player name, for example, user selects MS Dhoni, for example, all of these values for, like for example, batting and bowling average, fours and sixes average will be changing based on that particular player selection. Now, what if we make it more and more interactive? So for that, what we'll do is based on each of the player selection, we'll present the player image in this sheet. Like for example, if user selects MS Dhoni, the picture of MS Dhoni will be reflected here. If the user selects Ravindra Jadeja, the picture of Ravindra Jadeja will be reflected here, and so on. So this will make our dashboard much more interactive and amazing since we are considering player-wise statistics. So for that, what I'll do is I'll just import this player name onto this sheet. Now, as you can see, all of the player names are available here. We'll click on entire view so that it will occupy the whole space. Now, by default, Tableau has computed each of these player names as text as automatic. Now, I want to choose the shapes instead of text. So I'll click on this automatic and click on shape. Now you can see each of my player has been assigned a single shape, that is circle. But I want different shapes to be assigned for different players. So how can I do this? So for that, I'll drag my player name in this shape option. And once I'm doing this, you can see each of my player has been assigned with different shapes. For example, Ambati Raidu has been assigned circle, Deepak Chahar has been assigned square, MS Dhoni has assigned as kite shape, and so on. Now, here Tableau gives an amazing feature to choose the shapes as per your choice. So, for changing the shape, what you need to do is click on these shapes. Now here, this is the default shape palette which Tableau provides. Now, for example, if you want to choose arrows, you can assign different arrows for different players. Like for example, bottom arrow for Ambati Raidu or up arrow for Deepak Char and so on. If you click on apply, same will be reflected here. But I want to insert images for each of the players. So how can I do this? So here you can see I have created a library as CSK and I have imported all of these images into this library. So let's see how can you do this. Now if you want to create your own manual custom shape palette, so what you need to do is click on this search option and click on my Tableau repository. Now when you download Tableau, this particular folder is by default downloaded. Now here you will find the shape option, a shape folder, and when you are clicking this for the first time, you'll see rows and bars by default available here. Now if you want to choose, if you want to create your custom folder, you just need to click on new and the folder name. Now for example, I just created CSK2, and in this CSK2 I just downloaded all these images from Google and copied in this particular folder as CSK2. Now, when I'm going on Tableau again, you can see there is no CSK2 folder available. But as soon as I click on Reload Shapes, you will see CSK2 folder available. Now, all of these images which are downloaded from Google are available here, and I can assign manually each of the images. For example, I'll assign Ambati Raidu, then I'll assign Deepak Chahar, then I'll assign Dwayne Bravo, and so on. And when I'll click on Apply, you can see these images reflected here. Now what I will do is I'll just add a filter of player name, and since I want to use all of these values, I'll just click on use all and click on apply. I'll just click on this drop down and click on show folder and click on single value drop down. Now the issue is I don't want to keep all option available here, because if I'll click on all of these images will be reflected here and this won't look that great when I'm presenting it on dashboard. So I'll just disable this all option by clicking on this drop down, and in customize I'll disable this show all value. So all option has been disappeared. Now when I'll click on Ambati Raidu, you can see this particular image is available here. When I'll click on Dwayne Bravo, you can see his image is reflecting here. Now I'll just replace all of these shapes in a while, and let's see how it looks like. So as you can see, I've assigned each of the image for each of the player name which we have. Now what I'll do is I'll just click on this player name and I'll just disable the show header so that these values will be disappeared. Now finally, I'll just bring my player name in this filters. And since I want to use all of these values, I'll just click on use all and click on apply. Now, what I'll do is click on drop down and click on show filter. And in this, I'll just select single value drop down. And I don't want to include all option over here, because when I'm presenting this sheet on my dashboard, if I'm clicking on all of these images will be visible at the same time, which I don't want. So what I'll do is I'll click on this customize and disable show all value. Now, by default, you need to select only one player name. For example, if I'll choose Fab Duplessis, the image of Fab Duplessis will be appeared here. I'll just increase the size. Seems perfect. Now, if I'll choose MS Dhoni, the photo of MS Dhoni will be appeared here. If I'll select Ravindra Jadeja, the same will be reflected. So, isn't it amazing? So, what I'll do is I'll just finally rename this sheet as player. I'll just keep player, and I'll just bring this title at the center and click on apply, or let's keep it player image. That's it. So we are done with the four sheets, which is player wise statistics, batting and bowling average, four and sixes, and finally the player image, which will be reflected as per the player selection. So that's it for this first part of this amazing video, and in next part we'll see how we can include all of these sheets or consolidate all of these sheets into a single player statistics dashboard. We'll include some KPIs, we'll include some filters and make our dashboard much more interactive. Lastly, we'll look after adding title and overall color combination in later parts of the video. And that's it for today. Stay tuned for the next part and stay safe, take care, and thank you so much for watching.